You are not a natural-born leader. You are simply a child who was forced to grow up too soon. If you are the eldest child in your family, you're likely familiar with phrases like, "You're so mature," "You're so strong," or "You're the pillar of this family." But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what was the price of that maturity? Behind the calm, capable exterior that always takes care of others lies a child who never truly got to be a child who learned to scan their parents' faces before daring to make a request, a child who learned to swallow their tears to make room for the cries of their younger siblings. In psychology, we call this the eldest daughter syndrome, or, more accurately, a psychological scar known as parentification. This isn't just a story about family responsibility. It is an unnamed psychological sentence, silently suffocating your identity for decades. Think back to those childhood years. Were you always the peacemaker when your parents fought? Did you feel guilty for wanting a new toy because your sibling didn't have one yet? These acts of sacrifice weren't just virtues, they were survival mechanisms. When a child realizes their parents are unstable, whether financially or emotionally, they flip into rescue mode. You became your mother's assistant, your father's stabilizer, and your sibling's shield. You didn't do it because you wanted to. You did it because you were afraid that if you weren't perfect, if you weren't useful, the family structure would collapse, and you would be abandoned. The pride of being called good by adults was a form of emotional drug. It makes you believe your value only exists when you serve others. And so, you began the process of self-erasure. You chose the major. Your parents wanted to avoid disappointing them. You chose a stable job to support your siblings. Even if your dream was something else entirely, you became hyper-independent, a person whose dictionary never included the words, "ask for help." But my friend, hyper-independence is not a strength. It is a trauma response. You don't ask for help because you don't trust anyone. You've been the anchor for so long that being anchored feels weak and wrong. We are going to go deeper into this mechanism. Why do you feel exhausted even when everything in your life seems fine? The answer lies in the fawn response, also known as pleasing to stay safe. For an eldest child, love often came with heavy, unspoken conditions. You were loved when you helped with chores. You were loved when you watched the kids so your father could work. You were loved when you brought home a trophy to make the family look good. Your nervous system recorded a toxic message: I am only worthy of love when I am of use to someone else. This creates a relentless cycle of performance. Do you notice you're always the one organizing everything in your friend group, taking on everyone's burden? You take on your colleagues' workloads because you don't trust them to do it right, or because you just don't want to bother anyone. The truth is, you don't want to be alone. But when you grow up, where your needs are secondary, you learn vulnerability is a danger. You build a wall around yourself called resilience. You would rather collapse from burnout than utter, "I need help." Tôi hiểu rồi. Đây là dữ liệu rút gọn của các phần còn lại phần 3. 5 để bạn dễ dàng sao chép. Tôi đã gộp nội dung thành từng dòng đơn, loại bỏ hoàn toàn các ký hiệu kỹ thuật. Alongside this extreme independence is the ghost of perfectionism. For the eldest, a mistake isn't just a lesson, it's a catastrophe, because you are the example. You aren't allowed to have cracks. The pressure to be a role model robbed you of the right to try and fail. You carry this weight into your career. You work like a machine, terrified that if you stop for a second, you'll become worthless. You aren't chasing passion. You are running away from the fear of being judged as a failure. It's an endless treadmill, but perhaps the most tragic part is how this syndrome invades your romantic life. Look back at the people you've loved. Were they often weak, troubled, or in need of fixing? Because you are so used to the caregiver role, you unconsciously seek it out. You aren't looking for a partner, you're looking for a project. You confuse being needed with being loved. It's a heavy price. You give everything: time, money, empathy, only to wake up one day feeling empty, while your partner takes it all for granted. This exhaustion isn't from work. It's from forgetting the child inside you for too long. That child is still standing in the corner, waiting for a hug, waiting for someone to say, "You don't have to do anything. Just being you is enough." Have you noticed this strange paradox? In society, eldest children are often the most successful, high-level managers, dedicated doctors. The world admires your discipline. But when the door closes and the city lights fade, you face a loneliness that has no name. Your success is actually a form of emotional dissociation. You learn to disconnect from your own emotions just to function. You know how to solve problems, but you don't know how to feel joy. You know how to plan, but you don't know how to live. Eventually, the rupture happens. A midlife crisis, sudden depression, or just a profound sense of emptiness after achieving it all. You stand on the mountain you spent your life climbing, only to realize it's the mountain your parents pointed to, not yours. The pain of the eldest child also lies in silent comparison. You look at your younger siblings and see they can live more freely, they can be impulsive, they can fall, and they are still embraced. Part of you is happy for them, but another part feels the injustice. Why did I have to clear the path while they got to walk on the red carpet? Why was I the one who took the blame? This injustice, if left unnamed, turns into a fog of resentment. You start to feel like a stranger in your own family, even if you're the one sending the most money home or showing up first in every crisis. You are paying a debt for an obligation you never signed up for. Worse, you begin to transfer this vigilance to the next generation. If you have children, ask yourself, are you unintentionally forcing them to succeed to soothe your own fears? Are you teaching them that being safe is more important than being happy? This scar of expectation becomes a toxic legacy. But stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. The truth is, you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. What happened in the past was not your fault. You were a child doing your best to survive an imperfect situation. The fact that you are standing here today, with all those wounds, is a testament to your extraordinary strength. It is time to learn how to lower the shield. Not because you are weak, but because your arms are tired after decades. How does someone who is used to carrying the world learn to let go? The first step is going on strike within your own soul. You need to return responsibility to where it belongs. Your parents are adults. They must take responsibility for themselves. Your siblings are independent individuals. They need their own stumbles to grow. When you do everything, you rob them of strength. Start by setting boundaries. Saying no to an unreasonable request doesn't make you a bad child or a terrible sibling. It means you are respecting your own limits. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you don't care for yourself, you'll have nothing. You'll have nothing left to give but exhaustion and bitterness. Next, reconnect with your inner child. Do things that are useless, things that don't produce profit. Is values or validation. Walk in the rain. Buy the toy you wanted but had to give up. Or simply spend a Sunday doing absolutely nothing without feeling guilty. Allow yourself to be wrong, to be clumsy, and to be lazy. In relationships, learn to ask for help. Tell your partner, I'm tired today. I can't be the fixer. Can you support me? At first, this will feel uncomfortable, even terrifying. But it is the only way to find people who truly love you for who you are, not for what you do for them. My friend, the journey of the eldest child is a lonely one, but it holds magnificent empathy. Once you heal this scar, you will become a true protector, not out of fear, but out of pure, balanced love. But before you protect anyone else, be the protector for the trembling child inside you. You have done so well. You have carried enough. Now, rest. The world won't fall apart if you put the weight down for a while. If this is your story, and leave a heart in the comments as a promise that from today, you will start living for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe so we can walk this path of healing together. Thank you for listening to this journey, and I'll see you in our next inner journey. Remember, you are enough, just as you are. Be kind to your soul.